Hey guys, it's Dave here with Will's Wing, and I'm going to show you how to assemble the Easy Flyer. First off, the tools you're going to need. You're going to need 2 1/2-inch wrenches, 2 7/16 wrenches, 2 3/8 wrenches, 1/4-inch wrench, and a 5/32 hex key. This is how the Easy Flyer is going to come shipped to you. The parts include the 2 rear diagonals, which are labeled left and right, the base tube, the mast, the beam, the main gear assembly, the nose gear assembly, nose wheel, 2 main wheels, 4 main wheel bearings, and 4 loose bolts that we'll install later. First thing you're going to want to do is put some air in your tires. I don't think I need to show you how to do that. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is assemble the main gear. Now it comes shipped kind of in a loose form. Be careful not to let these inner gear blocks fall out. So you're going to need the 4 bolts, the 4 loose bolts. And the 4 loose bolts go in these four holes here. Need my 2 7/16 wrenches. So what you want to do is make sure that the hole in this is the inner gear block, make sure that hole is lined up with the hole in the gear leg. And you might need to rotate the gear leg a little bit so you can see through it there. Okay, then you want to just slide this into position and slide one of these 1/4-inch bolts through the hole. Might take a little wiggling, and it goes in. So then do the same thing on this side. And the 2 remaining bolts go in the corners. With these 4 bolts installed, go ahead and tighten everything. Except for the 2 in the middle, you're going to want to remove those. Set these bolts aside, we'll need them in a sec. Next up, we attach the mast. So first thing you want to do is remove the shoulder screw. So you need to make sure of the correct orientation of the mast, and the way you can tell is there is a diagonal cutout here. That diagonal cut is the front, faces the front. The front of the main gear has these clamps facing forward. So go ahead and slide the mast into the main gear blocks like this. Align the 2 holes and secure with the remaining bolts. And go ahead and tighten them down using your 2 7/16 wrenches. One thing I forgot to mention earlier was do not loosen these clamps on the main gear legs. They have already been aligned to fit the frame properly, and if you loosen them, then it won't assemble properly. Next, you want to install the main wheel bearings. Really simple, they just slide right in to the hub. Now I need my 5/32 hex key, and I'm going to loosen the set screw on the main axle collar and remove it. Next, install the wheel. Probably you want to make sure that the valve is facing out. Slide the wheel in as far as it will go, and then secure with the collar. The left is the same as the right, usually. All right, now your main gear is assembled. Okay, next we want to work on the beam. A word of caution, you're going to need to loosen these 5 bolts. Do not back the screws out all the way. The nuts that secure them are held in place with these plastic nut plates. If you back the screws all the way out, they will come loose and fall out, and it's very difficult to align and reinstall them. So don't do that. I've already done the hard work for you, so just back them out loose enough. So take your 7/16 wrench and just loosen this a 1/4 turn or so. Just enough so you can twist the strap. Look at that. Okay, with the strap loose, you want to flip this over and loosen the 4 base tube clamp bolts. Again, make sure not to back them all the way out. You can do 3 or 4 turns. Next, you're going to take the base tube. Now you've got your base tube. You're going to want to remove the end fittings on one end of the base tube. Okay, now with the end cap fittings removed, we're going to slide the base tube into these clamps. It can be a little bit tricky to get the bent parts of the base tube through the clamps. And if it's really tight, go ahead and loosen one of the screws on one side a little bit so you can get it through. You don't want to scratch the base tube. You can see here it's going through pretty easily. And so you just kind of want to roughly center it for now, about like that. Okay, now go ahead and tighten the base tube clamps a little bit. You don't want it clamping yet. You want it just snug enough so the base tube's not gonna fall out. You want to make sure you can still slide and twist the base tube so we can align it properly. Now go ahead and remove this bolt and position the strap over the base tube and align the hole in the strap. Slide the base tube to align with the hole in the strap. And run that bolt back through there. Throw the nut on, just loose fit for now. Okay, next, reinstall the corner fittings on the other side. Okay, at this point the base tube and strap are installed. Everything should still be a loose fit, and we're going to go ahead and tighten everything up at the end. Next up, we want to install the nose wheel. Go ahead and remove the nose wheel axle bolt and install the nose wheel. And secure with your 2 1/2-inch wrenches. You want to get this as tight as you can while still allowing for the nose wheel to spin freely. Next, remove the nose steering axle. And be careful not to lose the 2 bushings. So we have 2 positions for the nose wheel steering. There's the short people version and the tall people version. And I'm a short people, so I'm going to use the short people hole here. Go ahead and just press these bushings into position. Then go ahead and install the nose steering fork by just sliding it on the front of the beam and lining up the holes. Then just drop the nose steering axle through there like that. And install the lock nut on the bottom. So you want to tighten this down just enough so that the steering is a little bit snug. Pretty much like that. Okay. All right, the next step is to join the main gear and mast assembly to the beam. You'll do that using the 1/2-inch shoulder bolt that we removed earlier. Okay. So this is tricky to do when I'm leaning over a table, but you get the idea. it might be useful to have a helper, like if you have a Wolfie handy that can sort of hold that thing stabilized. There we go. Slide that thing in there like that. And these holes need to be lined up perfectly in order for the bolt to go in. So you kind of got to do a little wiggling and jiggling to get it to line up, but it will go in. If it doesn't go in right away, don't force it. Just keep wiggling and jiggling, and it slides in like that. Go ahead and just loosely attach the rear lock nut for now. The next step is to install the rear diagonals. Note that they're labeled right and left. Start by removing these bolts in the rear diagonal clamps. Also remove the 3/16 bolts from the end caps. We want to install the diagonals, start with the front end through the end fitting, like this. Well, I'm just going to jump on the table. This will make for an interesting tutorial video. With the rear diagonals installed in the front corner brackets, go ahead and rotate the mast up and get you kind of just wiggle them into position and install the bolts. Now if they don't line up right, go ahead and just wiggle and move until they do, and they'll go in there. All right, that's in. There we go. If they're stuck or they don't quite fit right, go ahead and just wiggle the mast until they do, until the holes line up and you can drop the bolt through. Like that. Okay, so the last step is to tighten down all the bolts securing the base tube and the strap. And this will just speed this up with some music or something. What's good Easy Flyer assembly music, do you figure?
Beach Boys.
It has to be copyright free. It has to be free music.
Beach Boys is probably old enough to be copyright.
No, it's not. It's not. Not the Beach Boys. The only stuff the only recorded audio that's copyright free is like, you gotta go all the way back to like the 30s or the 20s. Okay, so the Easy Flyer carriage is assembled, and the next step is to put it on a glider.